Hi, Maureen here from the VPP. Let's talk today about cyber safety and technology. This is a disclaimer that some of the content we cover today could be triggering for some of you. If you are feeling triggered, it's okay. There's help available. At the end of this presentation, we'll provide you with a list of community resources that can help support you further. If you're feeling triggered, please step away from the computer, take some time, protect your mental health, and reach out to someone who can help. Technology, and in particular social media platforms, have greatly impacted the way in which we interact with one another. 90% of youth ages 15 to 34 use social media regularly. Social media is great. We can build communities and find support. We can express ourselves and be entertained. And we can access information and news at your fingertips. But there are some downsides, including loss of sleep, negative emotions like anxiety and depression, and exposure to cyberbullying. During the COVID-19 pandemic, 62% of teens reported being less physically active outdoors, and 79% reported spending more leisure time on their screens, leading to an increased vulnerability to cyberbullying and online harassment. Let's talk a bit about cyberbullying. For youth today, the threat of becoming victimized by a person online has become a serious issue. It's likely that you or someone you know has experienced it at one point or another. It's even possible that you've contributed to it, knowingly or unknowingly, at some point in your life. Cyberbullying, otherwise known as cyber violence, is the use of any communicative technology to threaten, intimidate, hurt, or humiliate another person. Rates vary from study to study, but in Ontario it's estimated that 1 out of every 5 youth are victims of cyberbullying. Furthermore, they found that of those who reported experiencing cyberbullying, 65% were victimized for a year or longer. But not everyone reports cyberbullying. Why would this be? Well, studies show that people feel like there isn't a point in reporting, that nothing would change. Or they're afraid of the bully finding out that they've reported them and the negative consequences that would ensue. Some might feel that reporting takes too long or that others have already done it, or they just don't know who to talk to about what they're experiencing. Just as alarming of a statistic is that 1 in 6 youth report participating in an activity that would be classified as cyberbullying. So why is cyberbullying so much more common than face-to-face bullying? Well, it's easy to remain anonymous. You have 24/7 access to your victim. You don't need to be in close physical proximity or contact with them. It requires less time and effort for more impact. Messages and images can be shared instantaneously with a multitude of people, and the impacts are longer lasting due to the way that information is stored on the internet. Some bullies get keyboard courage, meaning that they feel braver, tougher, more in control, and powerful when they can hide behind a screen. And it requires minimal empathy. It removes that face-to-face interaction, resulting in less empathy felt towards the victim. Although anyone who uses communication technology is at risk of experiencing cyberbullying, those between the ages of 15 to 29, those who identify as part of the 2S LGBTQ+ community, and girls in particular are most at risk for being targeted online. But why would that be? Well, for youth ages 15 to 29, it mainly has to do with exposure. The more you use technology, the more likely you are to be exposed to violence and abuse. According to the 2014 General Social Survey on Canadian Safety, 17% of this population who had used the internet within the last 5 years had experienced cyberbullying or cyberstalking. In the case of those who identify as part of the 2S LGBTQ+ communities, it boils down to stigmatization. In this population, 34% report experiencing cyberbullying, cyberstalking, or both, compared to only 15% in the heterosexual population. Bullying and harassment of women and girls is an extension of gender-based violence, in which this population is disproportionately victimized in general. According to the UN, up to 95% of aggressive behavior, abusive language, harassment, and denigrating images in online spaces are aimed at women and girls and come from former or current male partners. You've probably all heard of sexting, and possibly you've seen examples of it in your real life or even participated in it. Sexting involves the use of any type of technology, like your phone or your computer, to take or send sexual messages, images, or videos to another person. Most often, this is done through the sharing of nude or semi nude selfies. Approximately 41% of youth report sending sexual messages or images to another person. The problem with sexting is that once these images, messages, or videos are shared, we have no control over what happens to them. 1 in 6 youth who shared sexual content consensually had it shared with others without their consent. The most common way that sex messages are shared with others is actually in person, face to face. It's important to understand that when we share this sensitive content without the permission of the sender, we're actually engaging in cyber violence and we're intentionally breaking the trust of the initial sender. Nearly half of all youth who receive text messages end up sharing them with others. Studies show that boys and girls engage in sexting at approximately the same rates, but boys tend to share more. This largely has to do with gender stereotyping, which can make it seem like a positive thing to share these text messages, as it shames what's deemed inappropriate behavior on the part of the female and pressures males to share in a display of masculinity and rewards them with an elevated status. In Canada, it is against the law for anyone to share photos of another person without their permission, who is privately participating in a sexual act, and or who is naked or exposing an intimate body part. It is also illegal to threaten to share intimate images of another person in order to force them into doing something. Being convicted of this crime could land you in jail for up to 5 years. This offense becomes more serious with good reason if the person in the photo is under the age of 18. In Canada, it is illegal to view, keep, make, post, or send intimate images of anyone underage, and you could be charged with distribution or possession of child pornography for doing so. This offense could land you in jail for up to 14 years. The only exception to this law is for youth, in that there are limited situations where creating and keeping intimate images of themselves would be legal. The law does not usually get involved in situations if the youth under 18 years of age created the sexual or intimate image themselves, each person voluntarily consents to the content being created, there is no abuse of power or exploitation between the people involved, the sexual image shows only lawful sexual activity, the intimate image stays private between the people it was meant to be shared between. Ultimately, what I hope you gather from all this talk about laws is that choosing to participate in sexting is complicated. As young people exploring your sexuality in a world consumed by technology, adults understand why you'd want to sext. Although we always recommend abstaining from sexting, if you do decide to participate, there are a few questions you should ask yourself first. The first one is, why do I want to? It's important that you feel in control of this decision and that you are enthusiastically wanting to. That's key to providing consent. If you're feeling coerced, guilted, or shamed into following through, then sexual violence is occurring, and that's not okay. The second question is, how well do I know the person I'm sexting? It's really easy to feel a connection with someone we have a relationship with online. But if you're sexting someone you just met online, someone who's older than you, or someone in a position of power, that can have very different legal ramifications than sexting with someone your own age. The third question is, if I send a sext with a photo or video, will I have control over where it goes? The short answer to this is no. It's impossible to have control over a photo or video once it's sent. Even when we're messaging someone we trust most in the world, it only takes one click to share, and it can have huge consequences. The last question is, what is my gut telling me? Trust your instincts and only follow through with things that feel right to you. Youth who experience cyberbullying report higher rates of mental health challenges than their peers. This includes those who have experienced more traditional forms of bullying. Cyberbullying can also have a huge impact on someone's health and self-esteem. Many who have been cyberbullied struggle with grades and attendance at school. They may also have physical health challenges, such as an increase in headaches, stomach aches, and problems with sleeping and eating. Not surprisingly, those who have been cyberbullied also have higher rates of anxiety, depression, substance use, and emotional distress than both their non-bullied and traditionally bullied peers. Cyberbullying is also associated with an elevated risk of suicidal thoughts and behaviors, with cyberbullied youth attempting suicide at 3.5 times the rate of their non-bullied peers. This is why it is so important to talk about. Dealing with cyber violence is something we hope you never have to go through. But if you or a friend are dealing with it, here are some of our recommendations. Take a break from technology. Turn off your devices. Remember that the more you use technology, the more likely you are to be exposed to cyber violence. Ignore the messages. Don't respond or retaliate. You may say something you regret, but also remember it's the goal of the bully to get a reaction out of you. Don't give them the satisfaction. Block the bully from all your accounts. Remove them from your friends or followers lists. And you can even delete messages before reading them. Save and print harassing messages. If the harassment doesn't stop, you may need to save or print messages that you receive. It could be important proof for parents or teachers later on. Talk to a friend. You may feel embarrassed about what the bully has said to you, but talking to a friend is one of the most important things that you can do. It'll help you feel less isolated and alone. And tell an adult. Tell a trusted adult, someone who you believe will listen and who has the skills, ability, and desire and authority to help you. Remember, it's not tattling, it's standing up for yourself. And lastly, report the bully. You can do this on any social media platform, to school administration, or even to police if you feel like you are in physical danger. The beauty of this is that anyone can report cyberbullying that they see. Don't be a silent bystander. As we near the end of this video, I want you to reflect upon everything we've talked about so far and consider the idea that all of our actions online, whether positive or negative, contribute to a fishbowl effect that we cannot escape from. Similar to how a fish can be viewed by anyone who wants to look in its bowl and watch it swim around, our actions online, whether positive or negative, forever have the potential to be viewed by others. Keeping this metaphor in mind, I hope you realize the power you hold as a digital citizen. You have the power to create good with your social media platforms and online presence, but you also have the power to create significant harm for yourself and others with your online behavior. Safety for all is paramount when entering digital spaces. So what are some things that you can do to protect yourself and the way others perceive you in a virtual world? Hold your privacy to high standards. Make sure that all of your privacy settings are activated on your online accounts. Never accept follow or friend requests from people that you haven't met in real life. Make sure that you don't share passwords with anyone. Don't share identifiable information such as your full name, address, or school online, and never share it publicly. Minimize your uploading of photos and videos. And be mindful of location sharing. Checking in or tagging your location can make it easier for someone to find you in real life. Something else to consider is to think before you post. Ask yourself the questions, is it true? Do I know it to be a fact? Is it hurtful? How will it make others feel? Is it illegal? Am I committing a crime right now? Is it necessary? Do I really need to post this? And is it kind? Will I be making someone's day better with this? Social media can be used for good, but oftentimes it has the potential to cause harm. Posting harmful words, inappropriate memes, using TikTok to be crude or vulgar, and posting alcohol or drug use are just some of the ways that youth have lost out on opportunities. They've lost scholarships, been fired, been kicked off of clubs and teams, and lost out on admission to universities and colleges. This is why it is so important that we think before we post. As promised, here's a list of community resources that can help support you further with cyberbullying and online safety. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow us on Instagram at WCS_VPP and visit us at berryshelter.com. Follow our QR code to the Ontario Trillium Foundation survey. Feedback from this survey helps ensure our funding, as well as helps us to continuously improve these presentations for future audiences.